you are producing in 95, 96, your first major breakthrough placement that you kind of went quote unquote mainstream with is in
2010.
You've been at it for 15 years, and all of a sudden you're an overnight success.
Yes.
I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need the help. Oh, I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need the help. Oh, that's right. I don't need nothing else. That's right.
Kingstream Entertainment.
All right, I'm in Los Angeles at Fabric Projects, beautiful gallery here in the heart of the city. I got a legendary producer, pioneer, author, does many things very well. You guys may know him. S1, how you doing, bro?
Man, blessed, bro.
Man, I'm like really excited about this interview.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, man. So the year was 2009.
Okay.
And I was friends with a buddy named Tyrone, truth be told. And truth be told, went to the military. So he had all this extra money because he was single and didn't have any kids. And he was just buying beats like crazy. And I remember getting this track, and it was like, yo, this is S1. You guys don't understand. It's S1. And this is, we're still super independent. Nobody got no money for beats, you know what I mean? And I remember getting a record, and this is how Christian hip hop we were. We made a song over one of your beats in like 2010 on a record, group record called Gallery Drive. And we were so Christian, bro. The record was about respecting women.
Wow.
That was the way we saw it. And then fast forward, in the same window, I don't think it was before this, you did the record with Braille. And I don't know if you know this.
Cloud 19?
Yeah, Cloud 19, crazy, classic, my favorite Braille record.
Appreciate that.
And you slid through. I was at a show in Smith College doing like an all-girl show. I got a pretty good memory, but I was doing like an all-girl college, and you and Braille slid through and actually performed at my church.
Wow.
And my wife was there, and she actually met you because she was really good friends
crazy.
with Braille.
Where was that at?
The Movement Church in San Marcos.
Okay.
The Movement Church in San Marcos. Yeah, y'all were performing because he was doing this thing where he was trying to give away like 25,000 copies.
That was amazing, by the way. That was one of those things where I needed that.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those being of service to people
Yeah.
in need, and just we were going to the prisons and the homeless shelters to perform.
Yeah.
And that was so. It opened up my eyes to a lot.
Yep.
You know, and just to be able to see how many people was in need, and just to be able to help them. You know, give them a word of encouragement. Like that tour was everything to me.
Yeah, man. It was so cool. So I've been familiar with what you've been doing for a while. And then I think most people, or a lot of people probably are familiar with everything after the Kanye placement and the Power placement. But let's start at the beginning. Where are you from originally? Are you from Dallas originally?
No, so I'm actually from a small city by the name of Waco, Texas.
Okay.
So you probably know Waco from either Baylor University or David Koresh and the Branch Davidians.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. So I was not a part of any of those.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, come from a small city, Waco, Texas, and yeah, I learned a lot in Waco.
Okay.
I learned a lot in Waco.
How did you get into production?
What's crazy is I really didn't get into production until I would say late, and that was like my senior year, high school, maybe first year of college.
Okay.
And it was simply just me reuniting with my cousin back in high school, because we both lived in the same city, but we went to different schools, and we just kind of, over the years, just kind of disconnected from each other. But my senior year, I reconnected with him, Kevin. He's Myth in the group Straight Shoot project that I was in. And after that, he was a super MC, freestyle all the time, writing. So me being with him all the time, that influenced me to pick up the pen and start freestyling every time we were together. Yeah. And we created a group called Symbolic Elements at the time. And for about a year, we would just use other people's beats, instrumentals, and just rap over that.
What year is this?
This is like 1994-ish.
Whoa, okay. This is 94. Okay.
Yeah, 94, 95.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
90s.
Yeah.
So, after about a year of using other people's instrumentals, it just struck me like, man, how are artists making their own material, original material?
Yeah.
And that led me down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out how producers were producing their own material, and that's when I stumbled across a Pete Rock and Bomb Squad and Jay Dilla and all these producers that had such a big influence on me. And I just took that, started researching it, and it turned into something, a world of a life of its own.
What year was that when you made your first beat?
Ooh. I would say it was probably 1995.
MPC 1000?
It wasn't even that.
No,
It
2000?
was like it was a Gemini mixer with a 6-second sampler on it. And I would sample from records and record it to tape, and then had a dual cassette, my dad's dual cassette player, and I would do the same thing and just overdub.
Wow.
You know, so that was like my first process of making beats.
And then what did you move on to hardware-wise after that?
After that, I moved on to an Alesis SR16.
Okay.
So I was doing things on that. And then eventually, I met this guy in college by the name of Oneself, and he had an SP1200.
Okay.
So I would go over to his house every other day, and he would teach me this machine. And that would be my first, and I didn't own it, but that was my first piece of hardware that I started, figuring out.
I want to point out two things. I think first of all, the entry point back then was so much higher.
Yes.
To get into production. Now, I mean, and it's cool, but kids can download $150 FL. You know what I'm saying? $200 Logic, and you're off the ground, and you going. You get a $100 MPC, Akai MPD, or something like that. You're off the ground and going. So one, I want to point out that, I mean, how much was a SP1200 back then? We're talking $3,000, right?
About $2,000.
$2,000, $3,000, yeah. So boom. So I want to point that out. Two, I want to point out that you are producing in 95, 96. Your first major breakthrough placement that you kind of went, quote unquote, mainstream with is in
2010.
You've been at it for 15 years, and all of a sudden you're an overnight success.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I want to give context to a lot of the producers, a lot of the artists, a lot of the rappers that are watching this that are like, man, look where S1's at. Look, he did this and this. 15-year journey. You know what I mean? Way tougher to get into it back then. But you stay persistent at it.
Stay persistent, man. And what I always say is that 15 years, it was my boot camp, and it was my training, and it was me putting my 10,000 hours in, just perfecting my craft. And not only that, but that 15 years, like, I had a lot of small successes that led me to that 15 years. It wasn't just like doing things and then all of a sudden, like, I felt like just like with the creation of my group Strange Fruit Project, like that took, we became like an underground success, and we was able to live out our dreams, tour, the country, and also gain fans from people we respected, from Questlove to Erykah Badu. Right. So it was all these little things within that 15 years that was taking me to the next step of my career and of my life that led me to getting to that moment.
That's so cool. And I remember hearing of Strange Fruit Project and you guys making noise. How did you burst on the scene in terms of like as a producer? Because by the time I had heard of you, 2005, 2010 window, it seemed like you was already booming and your name was like hot. Like, oh, that's like, if you get an S1 beat, like it's a thing. Matter of fact, I still think my homie Namas has an S1 beat from back in that day. You know what I mean? So how were you leveraging the internet? Because I don't ever remember you being like a SoundClick producer or anything like that. And that's not no knock to SoundClick producers. But I don't remember if you were doing that back then. But I just remember your name just carried a ton of clout.
I was on these forums. So I was like on Underground Hip Hop.
Okay.
I was on OK Player.
Yeah, OK Player. I remember
that's
OK
how
Player.
I met like Illmind, M-Phases. Like I met them in the forums. But aside from that, I think it was a lot of my notoriety as a producer on the underground level came from Strange Fruit Project.
Okay.
And it was me being able to create, not only create this group, but to build a sound for the group.
Yes.
And I think that was the difference, me being able to like, okay, this is the sound that we're going to present or display, you know, and people fell in love with that. And then there came a point, you know, I could do that sound with my eyes closed because that was what I created. But it came a point where it's like, hey, yeah, I can do this, but I also can contribute to so many more genres and sounds and things, you know. So that's when I started doing like the beat battles and producer showcases, because I want to showcase that I'm not only just this, I can also provide sounds for any artists that I felt like I could produce for.
So you were leveraging technology in the sense that you were just active on the
I was
social
very
media of
active,
that day, which was the more of the message boards and all that kind of stuff. I think social media really took on its modern form, probably like when Twitter really took off, you know.
And then after that, you know, the elevating to or transitioning to the MySpace days. And that's when I started to really connect with major artists, because on the in the MySpace world, everybody was kind of the same. You know, on the same level in a sense, because and you had access. You know, they gave us access to be able to reach out and DM these artists, and that kind of took it to another level too.
How did you connect with Braille?
With who?
Braille.
Oh, Braille. Braille is my guy. I think I connected with Braille. Man, I want to say he just randomly hit me up one day. I don't know if it was through MySpace or email or something, but he was like, "Yo, I'm a big fan of your group and sound," and you know, and then I started researching him and I realized that I loved his material as well. So I think it was just a natural progression, and we started talking, and our beliefs were the same, and we had a lot in common. You know, we both were believers. And yeah, that just led to us working on music together. And when we first started, it wasn't even, let's do an album together. It's like, let's just work on music. And that transitioned into us eventually working on to a full project, which was the Cloud 19 album.
Cloud 19, classic album. Okay, so tell me, how did the transition happen? Well, let's back up.
Okay.
You're a man of faith, you know what I mean? You said you and Braille had, you guys had these beliefs in common. So talk about where your faith foundation comes from.
I've been up for a minute, now I'm down for it. I've been good with the team, never bad for it. I'ma work for the winner, never slack for it. And I live for the king, I got a crown for it. I know the way, ayy, know the way. He really is the way, he the way, ayy. You can follow me, ayy. I know the way, ayy.